Good morning, everyone. This is Natasha Telger, and thank you for joining us today for the Youth Apprenticeship and Career Pathway Program Tools Overview. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and check in. Looks like we have almost everybody, looks like we have everybody. And then we'll go ahead and get started. In the lower left-hand corner, I did add 2 new documents, one on Worksite Placement, and then one is the PowerPoint IWDS Sync Update on Worksite Placement. So for those that are just joining us, we'll go ahead and leave the check-in open at the end. So, okay, get started. Okay, so today's webinar should be pretty short. I just wanted to touch on some of the things that you can do now, give you an update on the IWDS sync, and we can, go over the progress page, and then we can look at worksite placement, payroll upload. Okay, so just a reminder, I've had some people ask about the application and how to access the application. Now, the application is, we will be putting up some information on a public site where people can, access the application. But right now, from what I've heard for the initial implementation is that many of the providers or grantees already have, kind of a group of people that they're working with and recruiting from. And so we put together the application, complete online suitability application instructions. And it gives you the link to, gives you an overview, then it gives you like a link to the application that can be completed. So that is available, and it's in the partner guide as well. Okay, and then the next thing you can do is the suitability review. And so we have where you can check you can go through the eligibility information that Jim has provided training for, and then make sure they have all the eligibility information and all the documentation that they'll need if you are one of those providers that's going to be sending folks to the LWIA. So you can do that. You can review their information and review the training program, make sure that they're suitable for the program, and then you can mark them as recommended for enrollment. Then the next thing on the list is the IWDS sync. So we have been working closely with the IWDS programming staff, and they have been entering all kinds of customers and testing the application and testing the sync. It's not just sending the application, it's all the other areas that need to be synced up as well. So they, both sides of WorkNet and IWDS, they've been going back and forth with, testing different scenarios to make sure it all's working well. And so they made some updates, and it sounds like the sync is pretty much ready to go out. I know Jim Potts is going to go through and certify some people in the test environment. And then once we have his blessing, then we can go ahead and release that sync to production. So we'll send out, after that testing, I can finish up the instructions, and we will send that out so everybody knows that the sync is updated. But you can, like I said, now you can still go ahead and have your customers complete the online application, and then we can sync up with them in IWDS. So while we are here, and I just want a reminder, if we have some folks that are with us today that were not with us last week, and you haven't had a chance to watch the archived webinar from last week, I'll give you a brief overview. of the progress page. So I have my Benjamin Brad, I think that's the person we used last week. Benjamin has the application completed. We've gone through the suitability, so we selected that, yep, construction is going to be a good match for Benjamin, and we recommended Benjamin for enrollment. If you are one of those LWIAs that are, I'm sorry, grantees, that's going to be working with an LWIA to to get them into IWDS, then at this point you could click the Schedule LWIA Appointment, and you can select an appointment time. Okay. So let's assume that Benjamin has gone through and they have gone through and completed the eligibility information. You can identify contacts for the Benjamin, and so if these contacts would be like the provider staff, who would be the point person for Benjamin, or you could also add, if you have an LWIA, if you're working with the LWIA career planner, you would want to identify that LWIA career planner. And the way that you can access a list of these contacts, or how these people actually get in here, is the people who have access to that group, or say, if you have access to Youth Build, then your name would be listed here. If you're the LWIA person and you have access to those customers, your name would be listed here. So that's why we want to make sure that only the people that have been given access to these customers are the only people that we're going to be selecting as contacts. So if you have somebody that needs to be added because they need to have access to these certain customers, then you need to let us know so we can get them the appropriate access that they need. The enrollment and employment information, this will be pulled in from IWDS. We have an area for the goals. So the item that was selected as the program name that they're being recommended for would show up in this area. You can see some of their information that they provided in their application. And then you can see the other information that was provided in their application is listed in the immediate goals, time available to work, desired type of work. Those items came from the application. You can update that information when talking with your customer. So you just click Edit, and you can update that information, and then you can identify, career choices, areas for those people. Okay, we can update that. The barriers will also pull in from the application. So as you talk to your customer, you can say, oh, I didn't realize you had a disability, or yeah, you said you had a disability. Can we talk about that a little bit more, because we might be able to connect you with other resources for that disability. So, you could select those items and save that information in the barrier section. Close that, keep the page shorter. Then we have our services. Okay, real quick, I see a question that says, is there a place I can go in order to confirm that any applications are submitted correctly? Okay, so when they submit an application, we have a dashboard. So you can see the applications that were submitted. Let me see if I can go back to Benjamin. So you could click on that, you click on the list of, you'll see a list of customers, and then you can, once you click on the customer, you see all these different tabs of information that's available for this customer. We have an application that is available, so you can take a look at the application, And while this person has an inquirent status, so just to back up just a moment, when they submit the application, it's sent to IWDS and they are made an inquirent. And while they are still in the inquirent status, you can update this information in the application. Okay? And then there will also be, once that is updated, then you'll be able to see their IWDS number. Over here in the profile, you'll be able to see their status as inquirent or applicant or registrant. But once their application is certified in IWDS, then you cannot update their application. Okay? And the application will populate IWDS, but when the career planner goes in there, if needed, they can, update that information as well as when they go through to certify the customer. Does that answer your question? Okay, good. Okay, so I'm jumping back over to the progress page. And we have the services section. Okay, so whenever you're first working with the customer, the idea is to put together a plan of either like the different services they're going to receive. Maybe it's referrals for different types of assistance, whether it's a training program, whether it's a work-based learning experience, whatever the case may be. What we ask that you do is that you can go ahead and start building out that plan. So I can add a service. Let's say I'm going to do academic, and I'm going to say yes, it's a WIOA, and then I'm going to say it's basic academic training, and I'm going to say it's not started, but Benjamin's scheduled to be started on the 16th of October. And then this will take about, 20 hours per week. And I hit save. So whenever I add in a service and it's not started, then that information is just in my WorkNet. So it's kind of like a placeholder, so you can start building out the plan, and so that the customer and everybody's on the same page with, what is the plan for, when do you start personal counseling, when are you supposed to start academic, when are you supposed to start, the next level technical training, when are you supposed to start your work experience. So they can see everything in one place. You can sort and filter, or you can sort by the date, you can sort by the service name, and you can see if a request has been sent to IWDS to enter this information into IWDS. Now, if you are a person that can enter information directly into IWDS, that's great. We still ask that you go ahead and put together the planned activities, because you can go ahead and start laying that out to them and having it in this list. Now, whenever you say, oh, well, Benjamin, say pretend it's October 16th. I'm going to say, okay, well, Benjamin is starting training. Now, if I am an OES staff person that can go ahead and enter information directly into IWDS, then I can just say, oh, okay, well, I need to go into Benjamin, and I'm going to add in this training program information directly into IWDS. I'm going to make sure that I use, the basic academic training, and I need to use the start date of 10/16/17. And I can enter that into IWDS. And whenever the system syncs, then it will automatically update this line item. Okay, so if you're a person that has access to IWDS, we're not saying that you have to submit a request to yourself, because you already know what steps are in there and what steps need to be entered into IWDS. So you don't have to request to have that service entered in. You can just do it. But the key pieces are you need to make sure it has the same program name and the same start date. If you put in a different start date, it's really not that big of a deal. It just won't sync to this line item. So you might have like basic academic training 10/17, 2017. And if that's the case, you can just delete it. It's okay. One of the things that came up was, if we delete something, do we delete it? Does it delete from IWDS? No, it does not delete it from IWDS. And the synced items, you can't delete them from Illinois WorkNet if they're synced to IWDS, because we want to make sure that that data is consistent between the two systems. So here's the way it's going to work, or the way it's laid out to work at least, is that we'll have a daily sync. And so every day, the grantees can, you could put, let's say I went ahead and I added case management, and I put a start date, and let's put a number in there, and I'm going to submit my request. Okay. So if I entered case management, I thought, oh, darn it, I didn't mean to enter it for Benjamin. I can remove it, and that's okay. No harm done. You're not going to add any confusion to anybody. You just remove it. Because what the system is going to do is it's going to take a look at any of the changes or any of the requests that were made prior to, I believe, like noon, okay? And then, or 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So any of that morning, the grantees can, update information, whatever they need, submit requests for those services, and then the OEA who is going to be entering the information will receive a summary of that information that needs to be updated for those customers. So you're not going to receive 20 different emails. You're going to get one email, like at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And then, you would have that time to update the information, and the system would sync and that evening, okay? We will have an on-demand sync, so if you can't wait, for the next day, then you would be able to hit the sync button and be able to pull that information in. I hope that wasn't too confusing to people. Okay, so the other way, so if you are a grantee and you don't have access to IWDS, then again, hit Add Service. You select your service, Leadership Development, and get started. And today's date, your weekly hours is 10. I'm going to submit the request. Once I send this information, it does send, it will send a summary email, and then you'll just need to, you'll be able to see when it comes in. So let's say that I send it to my OEA Career Planner, and they ended up putting, again, a start date of 9/21 instead of 9/20, then, if that's okay, then you can go ahead, like I said, and you can just delete this item. It's going to be okay. But you won't be able to delete any of the updates that come in from IWDS, but you can submit a request for changing that. Okay? Okay. So then the next area are the credentials. So these would be coming in from IWDS as well. If you are a person that doesn't have access to IWDS, the way that you let them know that a credential has been added is one of the areas on this when you add a service is a credential earned. So you can let them know that a credential was earned, and you can submit the information along with that service, and then the career planner will be notified that there is a credential was earned. And let's say I did receive an occupational license. What I could do is upload that document. So I could upload a copy of it. And then the career planner has that information right there. Okay. Okay. So that's the overview again of the progress page. And like I said, I'll send out instructions and let everybody know when that sync is available on production. I would assume it would be out, by tomorrow. I don't have any reason why not to think that. But again, it all depends on what comes back with the last round of testing. Okay, so the other thing that I want to talk about is the worksite placement. Let me get this out of the way. Okay, so with worksite placement, we do have a tool that's available in LMI WorkNet called Worksite Placement. And we have some instructions that are available. They'll be posted on the guide as well, and they're available in the lower left-hand corner. And we have this tool that it's a way for the grantees to be able to identify the different employers and their work site and be able to place customers with those particular work sites, and also upload payroll, and then Commerce can review payroll and see if it's in line with what is being reported. Okay, so I did notice this was working just perfectly fine on Monday, and of course I get into test today, and some of it's a little wonky. So Cody is working on that, and he said that he would have a fix for this, and it would pushed out tonight. So tomorrow you'll be able to work with Worksite Placement all you want to. And so I am logged in on test, and so you will see some things that look a little goofy, but Cody assures me that he'll have a push out tonight. So we're going to go ahead and you'll select an agency, and you can filter that. And you can see this person doesn't have any listings. So I would add a worksite placement employer. And this is supposed to look like the application, with the little green that goes across. So it kind of shows you where you are in the process. So just imagine that. I'm going to select New, and I can put in a store. So, and then we'll put in, I can put in the URL. The URL is very nice, helpful when people are asking about the employer. Okay, and so I'm going to go ahead and put in some information and then my next step. So I add my contact information so I know who the employer is. I could have made the employer the work site as well. We're going to just say that I have an employer, and maybe it's Walgreens. And then I have my, Walgreens on the north side of town or one on the south side of town. Okay, let me just do this real quick. Okay. Sorry to take so much time here with typing. And I wanted to show you what it looked like for the adding everybody in. So then you add your job placement information, so you can look up your stock code. Okay, put the title in there. You can put in a description. And this is where I had a question from a person the other day about this. So I just want to point out that this is where you can select your employment type. So we have work-based learning, job shadowing, work experience, internship, on-the-job training, and permanent employment. I just want to point out that this area, at least at this moment, does not populate IWDS. Okay, so but we have these different categories, and in the future, then you'll be able to use this to pull reports on the different type of, industries or stock codes, or the, type of employment that they have. You'll be able to pull that information. So again, it doesn't populate IWDS, at least at this point in time, but it is important to get these, really as accurate as you can, because you can use it for reporting. Okay, and so let's say for this particular job they have 5 openings, and can start there. Okay. Okay. So then you'll see an overview of people. I can't remember what I just did that with. I should have paid attention. Yeah, hold on. Builders are us. That's the one I did. Okay, so you can see the employer. This is a quick link to the employer information. This is a quick link to the worksite information. Quick link to the job information. The number of openings. The number of openings and how many people have filled those openings. So if I want to add a customer, of course I don't have a person available there, but I would click Add Customer, and then I would select my customer from the list. And then I would see them in the positions filled. So for example, let's pick this one, if I have any customers in there. Okay, for this one, I have several customers I could choose from. I can, I say this one's part-time, and it's started, and my plan end date for this person is, say, 10/20/2017. And then you can see that the person was added for a part-time position. Okay, you can see an overview of those items, where the people are placed. If you go to payroll management, then one of the things that we have available is you have to select the organization. I can't remember who has information here. I can select the payroll time frame. So we'll start with September 11th, and we'll go through the 25th. And what it'll do, oops, okay, like I said, they were doing some updates here. But what would happen is that you download a payroll template, and it has all of your people that you have added for that area, and then it has it already makes the association in the system, so it gives you this long, weird-looking combination of letters and numbers, and that's important. You don't want to change those letters or numbers because that's how the computer knows that Natasha is associated with Builders R Us. So you leave that in there just the way it is, and then you just update the number of hours and the wage information, and you can save it, and then you upload it to the computer. So let me just show you an example of what one looks like. So you can see these are, again, they're in tests, but you can see what the payroll upload history would look like. So I could look at this, and I could see that, you know, Jack Black, the work site, the number of hours, the rate, and the total wages. I could see all that information. If I had additional documents that were related, I could have uploaded those with that payroll upload. Okay. And then I could see what the status was. If Commerce was, you know, looking at these, I could see that this one's not reviewed, and this one has been approved, and oh, this one hasn't been submitted yet, so I would need to submit that information. So that's an overview of worksite placement. There's a lot there. I don't expect you to get it all and, you know, digest it all right here at this moment, but we do have instructions that are available, and so we will continue to add in, it will continue to have technical assistance webinars that you'll be able to ask questions, or if you need any help, or if you want to see, you know, walking through that process, then we can most certainly, you know, include that on the technical assistance webinar as well. But for today, I just wanted to kind of give you an overview of that because I'm trying to, you know, slowly introduce the different pieces and parts of this because there's a lot here, and we just want to make sure that, you know, we give you time to digest the different pieces and parts. Okay? So with that, do we have any questions so far? Okay. So for the next steps, these are pretty much the same next steps as we had last week. If you have youth that are already in IWDS, you can go ahead and have them complete the online suitability application, and we'll sync to those customers as soon as it's released. You can go ahead and complete the suitability page where it makes the recommendation to enroll. And then I'm hoping that we can release the sync to production tomorrow. But again, it'll depend on the last leg of testing. I think we're right there though. And then I did send out an invite for additional TA webinars at the same time, same place. I think I did it out through November 1st. So if you need to have other people join those webinars, feel free to share that invitation. Next week, I will be at Lewis & Clark, I believe, with Jim Potts. So I won't be doing the webinar next week, but Chelsea Jones will be doing that webinar, and we're going to talk about the assessment and optimal resume tab. So she'll be going over these two tabs. Okay. And then I believe the people that had said that they needed, that they are not going to be providing, or they're not going to have access to entering people into IWDS, are some people with Lewis & Clark, and I believe a person from Youth Build had indicated that as well. So we'll be at Lewis & Clark so we can go through that and cover some of that information, but we can also schedule additional TA times as well. So if you are in that situation where you are not going to be entering information into IWDS, I just need to know who you are so that we can make sure that we set aside a separate time to really go through that and make sure everybody's on the same page. And as I mentioned before, if you have people that need to still have access to these tools, then they need to go ahead and make sure they have their account set up, and then a request needs to be made to be given access to the tools. So that's all I have for today. If you haven't already answered the polling questions, please do so. And we will download this webinar and post it on Illinois WorkNet on the partner page. And I believe Chelsea had put the link up there. I'll just show you in this little page here. There's a couple ways that you can get to the partner page. You can use the short URL, which is www.illinoisworknet/ I have a YACP, Youth Apprenticeship Career Pathways, and then the word partners. And that'll take you directly to the page. Also, you can always get to any of our partner guide pages by going to the footer of Illinois WorkNet, clicking on Partner Resources, and then in the Program Guides for Partners, you'll see that we have various tiles. And so you'll want to select the Youth Apprenticeship Career Pathway section. And we have a link directly to the tools from this page. And then we have the different resources. As I mentioned before, the application for the link that has where we have the link to the application for the customers and the instructions, that's available on this page as well, along with lots of other resources. And then we have the archived webinars. So if you go to training materials and videos, you'll see that we have a list of the archived webinars as well as the resources that were available for that webinar. Okay. Well, if there aren't any questions, thank you very much, everyone, and you have a great rest of the week. Thanks.